All right, so it's not often you actually hear of somebody spending 10 years making an album, much less doing it by himself. At the same time, it's not long ago that such an album came out and took the prog world by storm. Well, Jacob Roberge just debuted his passion project, his first album, after he spent 10 years working on it. So, how are the results? Will it be the next 10-year project to win accolades by the dozens and add itself to the early album of the year lists? Well, my thoughts on all of that coming right up. Hey, Prog Noggins, Dave here, and this is Bleeding Edge. Thank you so much for joining me. This is your weekly album review. And this week we are talking about The Passing, the debut album from Jacob Roberge that came out January 31st. So yes, I am a little behind the game here. Took me a while to catch on here. So the crew making up the band for Jacob, now he's primarily handling vocals, keyboards, drums, percussion, bouzouki, fretless bass, and producing work. Meanwhile, there's William Gaburi on guitars, bass, programming, keyboards. He is the co-producer with Jacob. We've got Marjorie Bork on violin, Julien Sino on cello, Gabriel Cyr on guitar solo for Anger, Remy Cormier, trumpet, and Annie Payeux, additional vocals. So again, this was all produced by Jacob and William Gaburi themselves. This is absolutely a passion project of Jacob himself. He has already established himself as a YouTube personality known for doing one-man band covers of popular songs, and he actually hit it really big with a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody. But he's also got a rather extensive musical career beyond that, which I won't get into here for the sake of brevity. Now, again, his debut album, he credits influences from Porcupine Tree to Pink Floyd to Rush and Styx. And it's an overall conceptual album with a theme of grief, loss, and remembrance, with the 30-plus minute title track actually dealing specifically with the 5 stages of grief. Now, before we do the breakdown, just a quick reminder, please toss a like my way if you enjoy what I'm doing. And if you want to see more of that in the future, just hit that old hit that old subscribe button. I know what I'm talking about here, as always. That is not going to be an edit because I don't feel like it. As always, we got 4 categories: intellectual, innovative, technical, and emotional. And sometimes I add a personal enjoyment modifier to the end of the objective numbers, just in case they don't quite match my personal feelings. We start with intellectual, and as noted, this being a thematic concept album, meaning the songs all have a common theme without there being a story. Those kinds are usually my favorite, and I think that's probably due to the fact that I'm a huge Rush fan, decades of it, and that's usually how they operated. Stories can be a little tough to pull off, and it's a few who can do them well. So there's definitely some deep themes and concepts going on here, and they does a good job with them. Despite what you might think, not everything is dour and sad, as one might come across, with loss and grief being your topics. There are moments of uplifting messages throughout. The images and the stories contained are done, really described well in a lovely prose style. It really gives a nice idea of what's being conveyed, while still giving room for interpretation by the listener. And the explorations he gets into of the grieving process really express a firm understanding of many aspects of grief, and yet also express an immense depth of emotion about it, which is nice as well. This is not a coldly analytical album or examination of loss. There's a real sense that there are real individuals behind these songs, not just imagined characters for a story. And that's impressive on his part. I'm not sure what that all means, but I'm impressed enough to give it a 5. All right, next up we have innovative. And I can't say, honestly, that there are a lot of things immediately apparent that I hear stretching the boundaries of prog or music in general about this album. It is a really nice blend of straight-ahead prog, kind of more in the American style of the 70s, a la Kansas and Styx, and some mixing in of more modern-day heavy prog with some orchestral elements, which is pretty fancy. It's this blending of classic prog rock with elements that are more modern prog metal almost. Thinking perhaps, it's not that modern because I'm thinking mostly of, it being reminiscent of early 90s Dream Theater. So not quite heavy, but definitely on that edge. And that really adds a cool punch among the quieter moments that feature strings and solo piano, as well as the more straight ahead rock parts. And then again, those orchestral elements. It's a really nice blend. I'm certainly not saying that Jacob goes full prog metal, but he certainly dances on the line separating prog rock from prog metal. In a certain sense, you could almost say he's sitting in the betweens of those two things. And meanwhile, the inclusion of strings and the orchestral types of elements are really a nice element that just adds a bit of spice to it all. And I can't quite say I've heard that kind of blend exactly like this before. He's kind of playing in an area that few people have ever gone. And it's a nice thing that makes him stand out from the pack for me. Just that bordering on heavy, but not quite so. So while I won't call this a massive shift at all, I think the way he blends things in a unique way that has his own signature sound, I'm giving it a 4. All right, now talking about the technical side of things, there is a lot of instrumental talent on display here. Everything is played at a really high level, and there's not a lot of super showy pyrotechnics on display at the same time. It's the arrangements are engaging, they're interesting, but they are always in service to the song. And these things range from cinematics to expressive balladry to quasi-metal prog, as I noted, to orchestral arrangements. It's really that big and grand and flows that much. There's a lot, especially on display during the 32-minute title track, which is a lot to take on your first album. And it really, he pulls off a grand song like that about the best way that one can do it, I think. And it really, oddly enough, is still all very cohesive. The long song itself, it's not an overly lengthy song stretched out beyond its existence, and it's not a suite of songs. It is a long song that has movements. It's very much evocative of Dream Theater and the other greats at times, but they're not necessarily within that same skill range as these guys as far as the playing. The arrangements are definitely there. The playing, they're close, and they may actually be better than they let on, but they kept everything restrained as part of songwriting first rather than showing off. And overall, though, it was a tough category for me to rate, but I gave it a 4. Now, talking about emotional, I can't tell how much of the emotion I'm hearing in these songs actually comes from personal experience or perhaps observational empathy on his part, but Jacob does an impressive job of conveying the feelings of loss and remembrance. It's really, really cool what he does here. Personally speaking, as a therapist, I have to say that if these are not based in personal or at least secondhand experience, I'd be pretty shocked. The imagery, the musical emotion of the songs really pulls the listener in, at least it did for me, and pulls you into the perspective of the protagonist out of each song. And I've rarely really witnessed such a synergy of lyrical emotion and musical embellishment, for lack of a better word, as cohesive as all of this. I know the labor on this album was about 10 years, and yet this is also his first album. So, the results belie the experience level, is what I would say. But I think all this time you can really show it shows up in the work. Stray Thought, testament to perseverance, because with the stories of like No Spoon and Earthside, where long gestating albums on a decade, were truly worth the time when they came out, to just hear all the dedication and passionate effort that went into them. And they became events into themselves. And I think we've got another one on our hands here. So, yeah, this one impresses on a level similar to the two of the best albums in the last couple of years. And that says a lot. So, and this one got me in the feels a couple of times. I will admit, it didn't grab me and shake me, but it definitely earned a 4. So real quick, let's review intellectual 5, innovative 4, technical 4, and emotional 4. It's good, solid stuff. And that gives us a raw score of 4.25 overall. So some quick notes, just, straight things on my mind. This one hit a lot of buttons for me. It's got these gorgeous soaring vocals, along with wonderful harmonies at many points, especially Garden of Souls. It's one of the most gorgeous choruses I've heard probably ever. I love it. That is a standout song for me and probably already on the short list for Song of the Year. The use of wordless backing vocals, really nicely done and somewhat evocative of stuff you didn't really hear much since the 70s, which I really dug that. And there's like a sort of variety of tempos and moods throughout the album without too much of any one type. It doesn't sit in one area too long, but it revisits a number of them at various times. And there's callbacks to other parts of songs and things like that. It's really cool. And just, this grand rock opera level in some passages, bordering on prog metal in others, along with a lot of interesting instrumentation. Like we've got trumpet, and we've got some Spanish-influenced guitar. We've got strings throughout a number of the songs. Like, this is an album that's really lush and offers a lot of different things to always keep the listener engaged and interested. It's really some great work here. The passion and the seeming lived experience have really elevated the emotion of the songs here. I don't know if that's the story for him or not, but again, you really feel it. Highlights for me, The Garden of Souls. The title track definitely represents epic songwriting of the best kind as far as I'm concerned. And really, in the end, for prog fans, I have to say, this is a can't miss for 2025. If you consider yourself a fan of prog rock or even prog metal, this is absolutely worth checking out. I recommend it. So what we're looking at here is it's already equaled the best raw score I've given this year. And I don't really see any particular reason that I would adjust it anyway, once or the other. It's up or down. It's, I think, exactly where it needs to be. So I'm not putting in a personal modifier. That 4.25 stands and actually leaves it currently at the top score of my reviewed albums for this year. Says a lot. So, for those of you who have heard the album, what did you think? Does it deserve the accolades? Does it deserve all the hype? Is this the start of the next big prog star? Could be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, thanks to everyone for watching. I do appreciate all of you. I really do. As always, I remind you to never fear to deviate from the norm. And of course, keep it proggy.